What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Tottenham Talk. Very special edition of our weekly roundup today. Not only are Spurs through to the next round after beating Brighton 3-1, but we also have a special guest. Patrick Harmon from the 4-4 Brew podcast is here to talk shop with us today. Patrick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's not every day that on my podcast I try not to talk about Spurs too much because I can just go down the rabbit hole. So it's nice to be on a show that it's the only thing on the docket for today.
Totally. We'll go down rabbit holes ourselves, but yeah, you can kind of get all your Spurs angst out for sure. That's
there we go.
The whole point of it. So yeah, today's gonna be a pretty easy episode. Not sure it'll be too long, but essentially we're just gonna discuss the FA Cup draw for the next round, how the game went, what we thought, maybe a new signing talk, because we did get debuts from both Kulusevski and Bentancur. So I'm excited to talk about it. So I guess first things up, guys, what were your thoughts on the game? Going into it, were you nervous? I mean, Brighton's a tough game, expected goal kings, I guess is what they call them, and then Graham Potter, who Matt is obsessed with, but
genius.
Yeah, what were your thoughts?
I think we played very well. That was like the first game in a while where we've gone into halftime and I felt like comfortable, even though Brighton kind of pegged us back at the beginning of the second half where they were pressing the ball a lot better than they were in the first half and definitely looked like they deserved a goal, and then got the goal kind of luckily from Yves Bissouma off the deflection from Højbjerg. But they kind of like sat back in the first half, which I like kind of expected them to do, like thinking like they're away, they're not
right,
like thinking they can really get anything from this game. But I mean, they made their mistakes, and we did in the final third what we've been kind of struggling to do, and it's punishing those mistakes. And
totally
threw a Harry Kane worldie, and then struggling to think of who scored the second goal.
Well, technically,
it was the deflection.
It was that cross from Everton. Yeah, no,
that's an Emerson goal in my books. That's an Emerson goal in my books.
He fully deserves that goal after he's had a pretty tough start to the year. Not really that great with crossing the ball, but he played brilliantly, as did the rest of the team. So I feel very good going into Southampton on Wednesday.
Yeah, for sure. Matt, what were your thoughts going into the game?
I thought it was gonna be a goal fest, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I didn't see it being a 1-0 win, 1-1 draw into like extra time, anything like that. I thought it was gonna be a lot of attacking football from both sides. I think Graham does a good job in terms of how he runs Brighton, and so I always think they're a pretty challenging team. They have the best record in terms of draws in terms of the top 6 teams. So I mean,
but they have like 12 or something.
Yeah,
like
they have so many draws, and so it's weird. They're a team that I feel like is always going to put 110% effort out there, and they have some quality players. Lamptey, Bissouma, even a Mapai up top. Always can put one away when 90th minute, and so it was definitely challenging at first because I wanted us to come up strong, and it was a little rocky. I thought a little at the beginning, but then we definitely, Kane did pull that one, which was really nice.
It's crazy.
And for him to have the kind of stigma he has right now, he needed to score that goal to kind of uphold his caliber and what people say about him. Because I feel like a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of fans in general thought that he was quote unquote finished, but I don't think that was appropriate. I don't think he was a finished player yet. I mean, he's only 29, 28? Yeah. And he's not even that old. And so I definitely think that boosted his goal. I think boosted morale more than anything. Kind of just like, guys, like, we are a good team. Let's see what we can do here. And I thought we comfortably beat them after we put that third one away for sure. But don't worry. I mean, like, that Bissouma goal really
it was lucky.
Because I don't know. It's just Brighton's definitely a team to pull one back like that,
Well, it was a lucky goal, but at the same time, like, the way we responded was like super. I almost wanted us to get scored on to see that, because I feel like since Conte's arrived, we've had some games where we respond well, some where we don't, but we're kind of getting into that point where we need to be consistent, especially the latter half of the season. Like, it's super important if we want to get top 4. If we want to, I think getting top 4 is so important for our goals this summer. Like, it'll open so many doors in terms of transfers, just because more people want to come, more people want to play for a Champions League side. Like, that's been a roadblock for us this past couple of years. But I was most impressed with how we pressed in the first half. Like, yes, Brighton made a mistake in giving the ball away to Son, who then passed to Højbjerg, and then Kane scored that worldie. But I think our press kind of like it disheveled them a little bit. You know, it put them under pressure, and they didn't know what to do. And that happened a couple times. We didn't capitalize on every time, but you know, another day, I think that could have been a 5-goal game for us. You know, so
and see that's the thing too. Like with not like capitalizing on everyone. Like in a game, you're never going to capitalize on every single mistake that a team makes. I mean, granted, like maybe they make like 2 mistakes a game and that's how you scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
But a team like Brighton yesterday, where they were just sloppy, just heavy touches, bad passes. From there, it's like you want to see like goal, like it kind of goes back to the expected goals thing. Like you want to see us making chances.
Yeah.
And we're going to score some, and some you're just either going to miss, like we did all the time against Liverpool and the game right before Christmas, or like goalkeepers are going to make saves.
Totally.
But like you want to see that drive, and that was what I think was missing from Kane at the beginning of the year. Was he just had no effort in front of goal, and that's why he had scored. That's why Højbjerg was like joint top scorer in like November with like 2 goals.
It was crazy because Kane, it looked like he was kind of just showing up to work, not to play football, you know? Like, I mean, who the hell wouldn't want to do that as a job? But to him, it looked like he was like working, not necessarily enjoying his football, enjoying himself. So to see I think for me, the turning point was the Leicester game for him, it seemed like the way he reacted and interacted with the fans during the goals and after the game, even like he ran straight over to the fans, like to celebrate with them because that's what it meant to him. And I think that was kind of like a wake up call for him. Like, hey, you know what? Like, there's a special project going on here, especially with Conte, and we can do something. We can do something pretty cool. So, I mean, he's a huge part of our front three, obviously, but the fact that he's on the same page now with all of our other players, I think that's very important. I do want to ask though, now that we have Kulusevski and Bentancur, how do you guys see them fitting into our Højbjerg, Winks, Skip midfield? Because in Lucas too, because it looks like he came in for Lucas, Kulusevski did at least. And it looks like that might be his position under Conte, but Conte also said he can play right wing back, he can play in the middle, he can play wherever. Where do you guys see those 2 signings fitting into our squad?
I definitely struggle to see Lucas playing right wing back.
Yeah.
I just mainly because like I don't want to judge a player based on his height, but right wing back is not a position where you want like a teeny tiny guy.
Right.
And I mean, like no fault to Lucas, but he's not the tallest guy on the field. And I don't really think he's. He can jump just as well as the next guy, but like.
Yeah, totally
get it.
But I definitely think Kulusevski is going forward. It would be a great replacement on that right wing. Not that Lucas needs replacing, but just so that Lucas can't take some games off, or like when it comes to either the FA Cup or. Like Prem games that should be like relatively comfortable.
Like Southampton.
Like, just like get the stamina up and keep his energy levels high. So we're not just using him 2 times a week when it gets to like busy parts of the season.
Totally. Matt, what are your thoughts? Like,
sorry, I dropped my pen. I wanted to add in there. First off, you know, it's interesting what Conte says and where he thinks these players could go. After looking at who we have and who we let go of this past window. I've been a huge fan of Kulusevski after watching him in the Euros. I don't know. I love the guy. And he's 21 years old.
There's no bias here. Matt's not biased at all. He just.
I'm not biased. I love the guy though. And he's Swedish, so he's going to have some Zlatan sickness to him, which is sick. But anyways.
Yeah. That's what we've been missing is a Zlatan impersonator.
Right. But no, exactly. Like, you know what? It's so interesting having 2 young guys, Bentancur being 24, I believe.
Yeah.
And Kulusevski being 21. As much as I love Kulu, I'd argue that Bentancur was probably our better signing in terms of what we needed.
I definitely agree.
Yeah. And like he's 6'2", like for a midfielder and like box to box DM-ish midfielder, because he can kind of do it all. He did it all kind of in at Juve. But we saw him simple I say simple, technical work he has when he had the ball, the composure he had when he had the ball.
I was going to say composure
around him. Yeah. And so, like, you know, there's something that you see top clubs doing. I'm not just saying the Premier League. I'm talking, you know, Bayern Munich. I'm talking, you can even put PSG up there if you want. Real Madrid, you know, so on and so forth. You know, these guys have such good composure coming out of the back. Manchester City, I say, is probably the best team in terms of doing this. But the composure that these center backs have, and then, you know, being able to progress forward comfortably and, you know, actually utilizing what we tried. They showed in the stats that we had 39% going up left side, 33 going up the right side, and then 28% of the ball was going up the middle. So it was dispersing the game evenly, which was interesting. And, you know, after watching these guys, you know, come in, I feel like the overall squad and the morale of the squad has definitely been boosted. But I feel like the simple things that we couldn't have done in the past. I'm talking something very minor. I know, Clay, you mentioned this, but when we were watching this together, Whittaker's L turn just to get out of space or to get out of pressure and create that space to go forward. So simple, yet he does it right. You know, and there's so many situations, and I'm not calling out Winks here, but I'm calling out Winks here, like that, or Højbjerg, where they lose the ball in that situation. We can't afford that. And so I think Conte has definitely instilled these guys to have more discipline in the back, and to be more discipline in the back, but then going forward to obviously play with your mind. Play with your mind. Yeah,
totally.
You know, I think so it's interesting what he, like, I'm almost done with my little rant. It's interesting what he can install in players. Conte. And so I think his reflection off these new signings and the overall morale and overall performance of the guys definitely plays a huge part of what Conte does.
I think, like, the interesting part is, I think Bentancur is pretty obviously going to be, like, his spot's going to be that Winks Højbjerg role, but he's going to do it, like, to a better extent, in my opinion. Like, Winks, like you said, I still get worried when Winks gets the ball sometimes. Like, as much as I love that he's having a I don't know, resurgence of his career under Conte, and, you know, he's starting to play better and maybe play with a little more confidence and stuff. I'm still not, like, when he has the ball, I'm not like, oh, we're safe, you know? So, because he still has, you know, maybe once a game, a couple times a game, that one pass or that one, he's just not there, composed enough, you know? And Bentancur came in for what, like 10 or 11 minutes, and there's 2 or 3 times he did, like, he won the ball back quickly. He got out of a tight area, played the ball, kept the ball, and we moved it up the field. So Bentancur is going to be huge, but also, like, Kulusevski, Conte was saying he could play right wing back. And I think, like, so many times fans, especially on Twitter can be a crazy place sometimes, but especially Spurs Twitter, like, people think that someone plays a position that's their only place they can play, you know? Like, that's not how the game works, really. Like, all these players
need versatility.
Like, all these players have played multiple positions their entire life. So, I mean, bar a goalkeeper maybe, and, like, but like, when you get a new coach and a new manager, like, it's not, let's say, like, oh, he's only played right wing. Like, how could he play right wing back, or how could he play the 10? You know, something like that. So, I'm really curious to see how Conte can find the best out of these players in different positions. Like, if Kulu played right wing back, that might not be where I would place him, but I mean, Conte has all my trust right now, so I'll let him go wherever.
My only concern with Kulusevski going to right wing back is, like, I don't know why I always just struggle to think of players that are not, like, right-footed playing like a wing back or a fullback role on the right, because I mean that's been our gripe with Doherty and Emerson all year, is that they aren't able to whip in, like, they just aren't able to whip in, like, a tidy cross. And Kulusevski, I feel like, would always just kind of try. I mean, I don't know that this is what he would do. This is all just, like, my thinking, my narrow-minded thinking on the matter. But I could just, like, see him, like, just consistently trying to cut back in on that left foot and then put the ball in, even if it needs to be, like, a one-time, or, like, he's being closed down and he needs to get the ball in now. And it just might not be as accurate on, like, his, quote, weak foot, where, like, player of that quality, like, should be able to do, like, what he can on his left foot on his right foot, like, pretty like seamlessly.
I think it's kind of a similar situation with Son on the left. Like, Son's pretty both footed, but he does cut in a lot. and he's not gonna hit a cross in like Reggie will. So I want to make sure that we have someone. I think honestly, I think Conte was really saying that he could play right wing back to soothe some of the fans that were upset we didn't sign a right wing back in this January window, just to kind of say that. But I do worry the same thing. Like, we need someone who can cross the ball, and that'll be a future summer. I mean, that's got to be our top priority, I think, this summer. Emerson could fit into that role. He's lots of time to improve. He's super young. He's still adjusting to the Premier League, all that. But,
he's like 22, 23?
Yeah.
So he can't be that old either.
Right. So I also want to say that the fact that we're able to have this conversation about who's going to play right wing, is it going to be Lucas or Kulu? Like, we have to make these choices. It's something that we have not experienced as Spurs fans in a while. The depth. It's like, oh shoot, no one's there. Who's going to play? Now it's
great. Lamella's going in at right wing. We're not going to score today.
So it's like, or Sissoko. Like, I always loved the like late Sissoko sub when we need a goal. Like, what was that? Like,
he would go in anywhere. He'd go like center back. He'd go defensive midfield. He'd sub him on at cam, right wing, left wing, anything we needed.
Yeah,
the Swiss Army knife midfielder.
But the fact that we're able to have these conversations where we have to make a choice between one or the other is something that I hope we're able to do more. Going into the summer, we should be able to talk about Emerson or this other right wing back, who's going to be playing better. So that sort of thing. Like, we don't really have depth. I mean, you can count Doherty as depth, but I'm not sure he's up for the task. So. All right, let's move on a little bit. Talk about our goal scorers. Harry Kane. Well, I guess we talked about him already.
Brilliant.
And Emerson too.
Just so good.
So good. I mean, is there anything else we can say besides wow? Like, really?
His form is clicking, and I bet you over the next 2 months he's going to score like 15 goals in the league and just get right back up to where everybody expects him to be. And all this conjecture that a failed City move has ruined his season will finally be in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, for sure. That's been slowing us down big time. I can't wait for that to be in the past. I also want to talk about Romero's return, because he was so neat and tidy. Like, maybe it's because I'm a defender by trade, but like, looking at him on the field gave me so much more like confidence in our back line. Like, even I watched a highlight reel someone put together of his game, and I mean, he can play anywhere. He can play in the middle, he can play on the right, he can play on the left. So when Dyer's healthy, I feel really confident about our back line right now, which is weird to feel as a Tottenham fan with no Toby and no Jan, because it hasn't been that way in a long, long time. So I don't know you guys' thoughts on Romero's return and how crucial he is kind of to our defense.
Well, it's 70 million defender. You'd expect could shape up in the back line pretty easily.
Yeah.
I was just reading some stats actually right before we started recording, and he was it was like nobody on the field had more like aerial clearances or tackles, and or he had the most. Long story short, he completed like 93% of his passes or something like that, and he just first came back in 2.5 months, and he's just immediately just sliding into challenges, not a fear in the world about ruining his hamstring again.
Yeah,
and it's just so good to see. But yeah, him and Dyer. Who on earth would have thought that we'd be saying that Eric Dyer would be like a worthy center back alongside Romero?
I'm going to stop you there. Matt knows this. I was a long time Dyer at center back stand.
No comment.
And I think I tweeted when Jose first started playing in there. I tweeted like, "Give it till Christmas. Dyer's gonna be a world-class center back," and that didn't happen. My timeline was a bit off, but
I think I remember seeing that and thinking, "There's not a chance in the world that Eric Dyer becomes."
Hey, everyone's got. You and I both thought the same thing.
Everyone's got that.
He was
hot
playing
take.
defensive midfield at the time, and everybody was saying like, "Oh, Mourinho's going to turn him into the next Gattuso." Like, no, he's not. He is not the same player that Gattuso was for Milan for like 10 years.
Curious to know. I'm curious to know though, like when we get back into like, pretty good sharpness and form, like his chemistry with Romero in the back. Like if you put our starting 11, like our best starting 11 on paper right now, like and everyone was healthy, like, I'd be really keen to see how good they would. I mean, I'm not saying they have played together. I'm not saying they haven't, but like, like I'm talking top form, and what Conte can do under a year with both of them, or just with our back line. I'm really curious to know what Romero and Dyer can kind of shy off each other, you know?
Yeah, like I mean, it goes back to what I was saying about different positions, right? Like sometimes you need a different coach or different, like, I guess, coaching style.
Dyer's from Portugal.
Right, but what I'm saying is
he's English, but he played at Sporting when Jose was coaching in the Portuguese league,
right,
like that far back. So like,
no, I know
his style, yeah, and so like his style and like, you know, how he kind of grew up to the game, and then, you know, coming from in Argentina, and, you know, I don't know where Romero came from before Atlanta, but
Juventus, I think, actually.
Where?
Juventus, I think.
Was it?
Okay.
And so like, you know, so he's got obviously, you know, a little Serie A in him, but like, it's definitely interesting what, you know, both can bring. And I feel like with Dyer, like, you know, someone that is, you know, going to go hard in the tackle and you don't want to lose, you know? So like, it's so interesting what both can bring, and, you know, obviously the weaknesses and strengths that they both have, but like, you know, we see Romero, and I really think Dyer kind of like looks at Romero, not as a role model, but I'm curious to know what, you know, his price tag, all this speculation and all this hype about him. I feel like he must know what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm curious to know, in terms of players' minds and players' perspective, what they think of that. And like, if Dyer takes it like, oh, I know what I'm doing, blah, blah, but I feel like I can learn a couple things off this guy, you know, because he's totally like me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really interested to see what Conte can do that too.
Well, I just want our backline to be like the reason our backline was so good in like 16, 17 was because it was the exact same lineup every single time. You knew exactly who was going to play, and they had that, like, they just knew each other and played with each other so well that they didn't have to worry about one thing or the other. Like, they didn't have to, some of the things that you might have to communicate to a center back you've only played with once or twice, it was just unsaid, it was unspoken. So if we can get our, you know, I think we probably, as much as I love Ben Davies and the resurgence he's having, we probably do still need a left center back. But like, once we get a full, you know, that full back line that is consistent, then we'll start to see the results of clean sheet. So excited about that. But
I am worried about Dyer just a little bit.
Oh yeah,
because he has this weird tendency where he knows he has to be the guy to lead the back line is when he plays really well. Yep. But when he's paired along, like when it was like with Toby or even with Romero at the beginning of the year, that's where I think he kind of takes his foot off the gas a little bit. But that also might have been just because, like, I guess under Nuno, which we'd all like to just forget that 2 months, that's where you saw those mistakes. Like in that game against, Newcastle, where we ended up winning. But like, you just knew that Newcastle were going to score again, and it was probably going to be Dyer's fault. And then he just has that comical own goal, like at the end, that just really proved to be nothing. But he just needs to keep that mindset where, like, he needs to, I think, either he needs to be told or he needs to pretend that he has to shape up the back line. And I think that's when we get the best out of Dyer, not where he can, I can make a mistake, I've got two other guys either side of me that can help out.
Yeah, no, we talked about this maybe last week or the week before. There's certain players who like are super internally motivated. Like we were talking about Dele in this aspect, but like a player like Dyer, if he's like given that responsibility, like he thrives in that pressure. I feel like, you know, like I think the reason Conte said in one of his interviews that he thinks Dyer could be one of the best center backs in the world. Like he said that because he wanted Dyer to light that fire under him, you know, and be like, he's not there yet, but hey, this is your potential. Like, go reach it, go get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so like you said, there's a worry there because it is Dyer, and you know his past. If history repeats itself, it could be bad. But also, I'm excited to look to the future and see what Conte is doing with this guy. But yeah. All right, to wrap up this game, Patrick, we do three things at the end of every game. Actually, I don't know if we've done this in a while, but we do a man of the match, play of the game, and then a hidden gem, which is like what's something that stuck out to you that maybe most people didn't see, or something that gives you hope for the next game. It could be a play. It could be a.
I've already got one in mind. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. So we'll start with man of the match. Matt, you go first.
Romero.
I'll go. I'll go with Harry.
Would you say?
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was gonna go with Harry.
Yeah.
Harry Kane.
I was gonna say Harry too, just because 2 goals back at his best in an important cup tie. That's huge. I'd love to see that. So, all right, that was an easy one.
Say Harry, so I didn't say Harry.
All right, play the game. What do we got?
Lloris's save on that deflected shot at the beginning of the second half.
Okay.
As a goalkeeper, I don't think people understand how hard that is. He was shifting right, about to dive, and just on a dime, flipped back to the left, and just was able to somehow get his palm onto that. And that's that just shows you why he's still one of the best goalkeepers in the world.
Yeah.
Just cat-like reflexes.
I still don't see, like, why is he not in the conversation with best keepers in the world still? Like, he is, like, I don't know. It's
because we can't keep clean sheets. That's like,
true.
And they're not, the goals we concede are rarely ever his fault. Like maybe like that game against City in when 16-17, when he went to, or maybe it was one of those years. And he went to like clear it with his head and just totally missed. Like that's like the last time I can like truly think of like a goal that was let in, and it was Hugo's fault.
You know what's another thing too is like, Clay, you make a point because he's a World Cup winner.
Yeah.
And as a captain, and I still don't think he gets the not saying respect, but I don't think he gets the hype that he deserves. I mean, like people say, and Patrick's got a straight up point. It's clean sheets. Yeah. And, you know, people want to look at the statistics of it. And so when you look back at like Liverpool and City, like obviously, you know, you got Ederson and Alisson, both Brazilian goalkeepers who are amazing goalkeepers. I'm not saying they aren't, but I'd argue Ramsdale is very good keeper as well. But Arsenal's back line is probably not the greatest. They suck. No one likes Arsenal. This is Tottenham podcast. Sorry, Arsenal fans.
Yeah. I don't think any Arsenal fans are listening to this. So they're probably fine.
I don't think anyone is going to listen to that anyways. But that's the thing that like I think plays a huge part when it comes to even like the documentary a couple of years ago or last year. Hugo always had the captaincy. Like he had that leadership. But I completely agree with you, Clay. I don't think he deserves or gets the recognition that he should.
Totally.
But I mean, Patrick, on the point that you made about a save, like that's a great example. Things that I think just get shied away, unless I don't know if they're getting shied away or this maybe, I don't know, but I feel like it's a whole different story if like Alisson did that or City did that, you know, and it's like, oh my God, what a great game Ederson played. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying?
Made one save.
Made one
save. One time City's defense allowed a shot on target.
My
one
point.
Save.
So,
congrats.
It's this, and like he has been consistent in making incredible saves. I mean, incredible saves.
We talk about our back line being better under Conte, but like in all honesty, if we didn't have Hugo, we'd be a
mid-table bottom half team.
If Golini was starting, Golini is such a bad goalkeeper. He is so bad, and I am counting down the days until his loan expires. And if we like truly triggered that, wasn't it like a 30 million
15
like buy clause? Okay, I guess 15. Like
he wasn't too much, I don't think. But
like he's just like the game against who is the Conference League team that we should have beaten?
Mura.
Just like that first goal, it was a great goal that they scored, like just like kind of whipping it like far post on Golini. But the fact that he doesn't even move, like if he moved like a little bit or just like tried like maybe to dive for it, like there's a pretty good chance he would have gotten it. He's a tall guy, like the wingspan of like most like 2-car garages. I think like he probably would have gotten it, but he just makes no effort. He had like one good year at Atalanta with Romero, and just he's not a Premier League goalkeeper by any stretch of the imagination.
Where's Gazzaniga when you need him, right?
Yeah.
He was good. He got so much hate, but he was good.
He was way more solid than what people thought he was, I thought.
Yeah. He's much better than – I mean, he's starting for Fulham now, isn't he?
I think so.
And it'd be great to see him back in the prime. I mean, he deserves to be a prime number one or at least a number one somewhere in like a top league. So all but happy for Paulo. Because he's older than I thought he was too. He's like 27, 28.
I mean, Golini's not young either. I think he's like 27 too. So it's not like he's like a young.
Golini, I thought was like 22.
Is he that young?
I think Golini is a lot younger than that.
Okay,
he is.
Hold up.
22. No.
Okay.
No. 26.
26. Yeah. He's not.
So, I mean, young
for 22.
Young for a keeper, but still not like, you know.
Speaking of age, before we move on real quick, did you know that Son is older than Kane by a year?
I did.
That blew my mind when I saw that last week.
Kane, his age does not quite. He looks older than he is for sure.
Oh yeah, I definitely pegged Kane for already being like 31, and Son maybe like 26. Right. And the fact that Son turns 30 like this year blew my mind.
It's crazy. It is. All right, rabbit hole went down. Matt, what's your play of the game?
Play of the game was Binneker's L turn. That small step, it just was so nice to see him get out of that pressure, and I just haven't seen that in a while from a Tottenham player.
Yeah, I think my no, I mean we talked. His composure is super exciting for me, but my play of the game I think would be when Son won the ball back to get Kane's second goal. That like bursting run he made, it's like so good. I feel like he deserved a goal after that run, but like we still scored, so it doesn't matter. But man, like that's something that you just forget that Son can do when he's not playing. But when you get it back, you see something like that. It's like, oh, so good. So, all right, here's the fun part now. Hidden gem. Patrick, you said you already got one. What's your hidden gem?
My hidden gem was that L turn from Benson Kerr. Right. I didn't think anybody would say that. Go to Matt. I'll think of another one.
Okay, all right, Matt.
Hidden gem?
Hidden gem.
I'm gonna say it's probably a typical one, but I think it's definitely appropriate to say now. Conte. I think he's played what, 10 games now, 9 total. How many prems?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
More.
It was like only one loss in the prem, I think, right, against Chelsea.
Yeah.
I think we give him spotlight in this podcast a lot. But I'm definitely giving him the spotlight right now because I think he has a mentality, he has a demeanor, he has a personality that is absolutely contagious, and he knows how to win. He knows how to win. And I wrote down Kane quoted him, or Hotspur related quoted what Kane said about him, and he said, "I can't speak highly enough of Antonio Conte, but both personally and as a coach." So, and I just think it's so important for a manager to have that personal relationship with his players, not at all being a job for him, that sort of connection. And you see it when he reacts to goals. You see it when he reacts to a tackle. I mean, the way he expresses himself on the sideline is nothing like it. I mean, the only one I can compare it to would be Klopp. Back when Klopp would get so excited when they win. Yeah. Klopp had a demeanor when he went to Liverpool. Now I'm not saying that we'll win Champions League in 3 years, but I think Conte has definitely changed the club, and I hope Daniel sees that, because Conte is definitely the glue right now, and he's holding everything together, and I think he's giving people hope. Fans hope, players hope that we can achieve something here. Trust me. And he's definitely presented that message, I think, perfectly.
Totally.
So.
All right. Patrick, do you got one?
I do, yeah.
Okay, all right. Let's hear it.
After Basuma had scored that goal, did you see Davinson Sanchez just turn around and just scream at Højbjerg and the rest of the midfield, just saying, that's like, awesome. Why are you allowing him so much space? Like, that, of course, was going to happen if you do not like step to your man. And I think that's like one thing that we've been missing is like players, because we saw that in the Amazon doc as well, which was hilarious when Lloris had that run at Son.
Yeah.
When they like, I don't remember, I think we were playing like Palace or somebody.
Aston Villa.
Was it Villa?
Aston Villa.
Yeah. And
pretty sure.
So yeah, I mean, just that drive from the players, like we want to keep this clean sheet. Like we just go like take like some FIFA tactics and like include like a clean sheet bonus and like all of these defenders' contracts just to keep them on their toes and just keep the rest of the team accountable. And that's definitely something like you would not have seen that under Nuno. Yeah. You would have like somebody would have scored and we were like, oh, they're probably going to get a second one now because they scored this first goal. But now we see like in-game like switching of tactics, or like somebody's making a mistake, like you scream at them and then they stop making that mistake. They know what they did, and they did it once, and they won't do it again until maybe another game it comes up. You scream at them again, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I think, you know what, before Clay, you go on, I think, Patrick, that's a good point because we haven't really talked much about Sanchez. And I feel like that's a very interesting player to bring up because of all the backlash and hate that he's been given. I think he's definitely proven himself in the past couple games of what he can do in the back line. And I mean, I think that's a great point. I feel like
it showed why we bought him for like 40 million from Ajax.
Right? Yeah. And
he's
so
he's a god.
I mean, like even him, like him on his like if he could shape up and be on his game like we think he can with Romero and Dyer in the back, don't think anyone can score on us. You know, like it's with Lloris and goal in between the sticks. On paper, I don't think anyone can score us. You know, like you could compare that back line to many of the teams now, but like it's just great point, Patrick. Love it, great point. But that's all I have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great one too. Can't complain there. I love those moments too. I think that comes from Conte is like the way he, the mindset that he's kind of bringing to this team, and the way that you got to hold each other to that level, and it's not you can't be nice guys. And I think Jose said it in the documentary. You got to be a team of, whatever's expletive.
This is a family-friendly podcast.
Yeah. well, actually, that's the deal. So for my hidden gem, I'm gonna go with Hugo in general, just because talking about him reminded me how lucky we are to have him. He's gonna be one of those players that when he leaves, like we understand how lucky we are now, but when he leaves, it's gonna be like, damn, we miss him.
It's gonna be weird seeing somebody. It's gonna be one of those Vertonghen, Alderweireld.
Yeah.
Where it's gonna be weird to see somebody else wearing the number 1.
Totally. But well, guys. Great episode, Patrick. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. Appreciate having you.
Of course.
We'll have to have you on again.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, but everyone, be sure to check out the 4-4 Brew podcast, as well as check us out on Twitter as well. We're trying to update stuff more there too. We did start a Discord, so we're trying to get that underway, but it's hard because there's only like 5 of us in there right now. But
it's growing.
It is. We'll get that going too. So lots to go for the rest of the year for Tottenham Talk. But thanks for listening, and as always, come on, you Spurs.